We live in a pretty wild time. On one hand, we've got AI that can spot the tiniest little problem and tools that can literally map out criminal networks as they happen. But on the other hand, government fraud is draining hundreds of billions with a B from public programs. It just doesn't add up, right? This is what we're calling the Great Tech Fraud Divide. We have these amazing tools to stop the problem, but for some reason, we're just not really using them. So let's get into what's really going on here.
First things first, let's just wrap our heads around the sheer scale of this. The Government Accountability Office estimates that the high-end loss to improper payments and outright fraud is a mind-boggling $521 billion. That's not just some number on a screen. That is a colossal amount of public money just vanishing every single year.
And here's the kicker, the part that makes this whole thing so frustrating. This isn't some unsolvable problem. The technology to stop this already exists, and it's really, really good. We're talking about AI that detects weird patterns, graph analysis that uncovers those hidden criminal rings, and real-time data matching. And listen, this isn't some sci-fi future stuff. This is proven tech that the private sector uses every single day to protect itself.
So this brings us to the big question, doesn't it? If we have a $500 billion problem on one side and the proven technology to fix it on the other, what's really standing in the way? Well, it turns out the answer has almost nothing to do with technology.
Okay, let's pull back the curtain a little. The things stopping us from cracking down on all of this fraud, they aren't technical glitches or a lack of good software. The real roadblocks are, well, they're buried deep inside our own political and government structures. We don't have a technology gap. What we really have is a commitment gap.
So what are these barriers we're talking about? Well, it's really a mix of a few key things. First, fraud prevention only seems to be a big priority right after a huge scandal hits the news. Then you have critical data that's all siloed off in different agencies, so nobody can get a complete picture. Agencies are also frankly afraid of the political heat they'll get if they accidentally flag a legitimate person. Plus, there's this constant tug of war between making things easy for business and actually enforcing the rules. And of course, there's just not enough money or data experts in the places that need them most.
This right here, this slide really gets to the heart of the conflict for these government agencies. See, their main job, the thing they get judged on, is growing their programs and getting money out the door, fast. Things like oversight and fraud prevention, well, they're important, sure, but they're almost always treated like an afterthought, something that gets way less attention and, you guessed it, way fewer resources.
And that leads directly to this. This quote from a House oversight hearing just nails it. Without a real consistent commitment from the very top to make fraud prevention a priority, even the best technology in the world is going to fail. The political will to fix things just seems to disappear as soon as the news cycle moves on.
All right, so let's look at a real-world case study to see exactly how this plays out. Because this isn't just theory, right? We can actually see a clear pattern where one government policy makes it easier to commit fraud, while another one tries to clean up the mess afterward.
Okay, check out this timeline. In March of 2025, a rule gets passed that lets domestic shell companies off the hook from reporting who their real, actual owners are. This basically preserves their anonymity, which is like rolling out the red carpet for fraudsters. Then, less than a year later, another government agency, FinCEN, puts out an alert asking banks to please try to spot fraud happening in child nutrition programs, fraud that's often carried out using, you got it, anonymous shell companies.
I mean, this just makes the whole contradiction so obvious. The first policy guts our ability to prevent fraud by letting criminals hide in the shadows. The second policy is completely reactive. It's asking banks to go find the bad guys after they're already in the system and the money's flying around. We're actively choosing to chase criminals down instead of just building a better fence to keep them out.
And when you look at the red flags FinCEN told the banks to watch for, things like money moving super fast, fake invoices, weird payments, money laundering for luxury cars, you see the pattern. These are definitely helpful clues, but here's the most important part. Every single one of these is a sign of fraud that is already happening. This isn't prevention. This is detective work after the crime has been committed.
So after looking at all this, we end up at the real problem. It's not a gap in what our technology can do. It's a giant chasm in our political and institutional commitment to actually use it.
Honestly, this one sentence just says it all, doesn't it? It's a classic case of capability outpacing commitment. The tech to get ahead of this, to stop fraud before it even starts, is here. It is ready to go. But the sustained political will to pay for it, to cut through the red tape, and to make prevention a true priority instead of just reacting, that's what's lagging way, way behind. Our capability has totally outpaced our commitment.
And that leaves us with one last really important question. We have the tools to build a much, much better fence, to stop the fraud before it ever gets started. The divide isn't about what's possible, it's about what we, as a society, decide to prioritize. So we just have to ask ourselves, when we're losing hundreds of billions of dollars every single year, is just reacting after the money's already gone really good enough?